Welcome back, siblings! We're still stuck in the 80s, thanks to Moses.
This is true.
Hopefully, it won't be for 40 years.
Nope. Hopefully it'll be today, although you never know, because you start reading and then I get stuck. So we were in Numbers 13.
Yeah, Numbers 13.
Last time we asked why God let something happen, or if he knew, why did he let the 12 spies go out if he knew what the end result was, right? So this time, let's see what the end result is, right? So I want to
skip all the tribes.
Can we skip all the way to? Can we skip to verse 17?
Whoa. Woo. Okay.
Go.
Numbers 13, 17. Where am I at? Oh, yeah, green. My Bible's color-coded. Helps out. All right. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said unto them, Get you up this way southward and go into the mountain and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many. And what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. And what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes.
Okay, so stop right there. Because, again, there's this problem. Moses and God are really tight.
Yeah.
So this is one of those moments where you're like, is this God's idea? Or is this Moses' idea?
Yeah.
Because Moses sends these guys out with very specific things, right? Find out about the people, find out about their shelters, find out about their agriculture, find out the land, find out all this stuff, right? But again, here's the question. Did God really say to Moses, go do this? Did God really say to Moses, hey, go check out all of these human perspective type things? Because again, God had already said to Moses, hey, this promised land is going to be this way. It's everything you need.
Right.
Right? So
God just said, send them every man from each tribe.
Just send them out.
That they may search the land.
Right. So that they can search the land and see it. Now again, you're probably splitting hairs because these people are going to look at those things anyway, right? But Moses sent them out with a very strict, like, hey, look at these things, whether they're large or big people, right? Whether the houses are this or that, whether the food is this or that. When we go about looking at opportunities in this perspective, what's it do to us?
What do you mean?
So when we look at a job, right?
Yeah.
When we look at a job and we look at how much it pays, what the hours are, what the benefits are, right? Who we're going to be working with, where is it located? When we look at all of those things, those are all things that make sense to human, right? We come back and we tell people, man, it pays me this much, and it's got these benefits, and it's in this place, it's a great place of town, and it's easy to get to, and it's got parking, and it's got all these things, and they're only going to make me work 10 hours a day, not 100 hours a day, right? It's a great, we look at all that stuff.
Right.
Right? And there's value in all that stuff. But is that what we care about, or is that what God cares about?
Right.
When God sends us to a workplace, when it's a God-ordained work moment, right? Do any of those things really matter to God?
Well, it's funny because they end up not mattering to us either, really. I mean, how many times are you then in that job and you're like, oh, this sucks,
Yep.
right? And then you're like, okay, remember all the things you liked. Remember all the reasons you said it was good, because the real job is different. Suddenly, parking, not really that important, right? Like, you'd park 10 miles away and walk in the snow if it was a job you loved, right? So it's like, I think sometimes we look at these things and we try to create a really good situation.
Yeah. And I think that's it. We look at it and be like, here's the deal, right? Oh, this is perfect for me. This has everything about me written in it, and this is great. And so it's obviously a God thing, and it's just great.
But we assume why God sent us.
Right. But again, God could be looking at this saying it's totally different, right, in nature. But we can't get away from looking at God moments as from our perspective. And so it's why we throw some God moments away. Because we look at it and say, God would never ask me to work in a bad place in town.
Yeah, it would.
God would never ask me to work in a job where I'm going to have to work 12 hours a day, not 10, because that wouldn't be good for my family. God would never, ever ask me to work at a job where I'm actually taking a decrease in pay right now. God would never ask me to go to a place where I'm not going to have health insurance, where I'm not going to have these. Like, we look at that and we start looking at it from our perspective, right? And this is what Moses is getting these guys to look at. Is like, hey, look at it from our perspective. Are they big people? Are they small people? Are they this? Are they this? Are they this? Well, like look at it from a human perspective. But the whole entire time, it's not a human perspective, is it?
I mean, no, clearly not. I mean, but I don't know. We do this all the time. We've done this in ministry things, right? God gives us a little. I'm learning to be very cautious about listening to God's words, like very specific words, and times even that I've prayed, and He like brings to my mind like, yeah, you didn't really specify, right? Like you asked for this, and I gave it to you. You were thinking a different way, but you didn't say that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, And it's like, well, you knew, God. Okay, but God's made it very clear. He wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But He's the same way. Like, we take what He says and we put it through our feeling filter of where we're at.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, it means this. Right?
Yep.
Like, or how things normally work, or how things normally look, right? Like I was saying in the ministry things, like He's given us places and places to go and things. And like I've heard very specifically myself, like, you know, I'll bring people, I'll tell you what to say, I'll tell you what to do. But then we're like, okay, well, here's the place. Well, let's start figuring out ideas for it.
Yep.
And it's like, no, nope, not doing it because like I feel like that's this kind of thing, right? Like He's like, okay, well, here's how we would do it.
Yeah. Yep.
And we just assume, oh, because God sent us to do what we always do, we're assuming He's sending us to do what we always do.
So oh man, I love that. I love that. That should give tons for our saplings and seedlings to think about, right? Like, hey, like, what's the deal with this? But I like it, taking it a step further on that thought process. All of the things that Moses told these people to look at and think about weren't inhabiting things, which is what God commanded them to do. They were taking it over things.
Right. What's there for us to have?
Right. So God He said, I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to go before you. I'm going to drive out the Amorites, all these people, right? I'm going to do this.
Right. So what does it matter if the people are few or many or strong or weak?
Right. Like, again, wouldn't it have been better for Moses to send the guys in and go, just take a good look at the beauty of this place? Like, bring us back reports about how great this place is, right? Because God's going to do all of this, right? He's going to do the work. Like, for a job, it's not my responsibility to figure out how to get the job, which is what we tend to focus on. It's not just what you just said. It's not my responsibility to get people in the door. Right? But that's what we focus on. Yeah. It's my responsibility to focus on, when God gives it to me, how am I going to inhabit it? Right? When God brings people in the door, how are we going to take care of them? Right? When God gives us a place where we can have people, how are we going to take care of it? We're not supposed to worry about the place, right? Now, that doesn't mean we don't take care of it. Doesn't mean that we don't have to pay bills. Doesn't mean we don't do any of these things. It just simply means sometimes, if not often, we're taking the role and the place of God in what His position is.
Well, I said to somebody at church on Wednesday, like, we walk around quoting we plant, we water, we harvest, and God grows, God grows, God grows, God grows. Except at church. Like, it literally makes no sense to me. Like, the main focus of every church is more people, more people, more people.
It's growth.
That's like the one thing God says is not your job. Yep. And we will they'll stand up there and talk about it. And then
we'll have conferences.
And then literally a 45-minute announcement thing about all of the ways they're bringing people into the church and all the mission outreach crap. Like, really?
Yeah.
Your mission outreach crap should be people going out of the church. That's your mission outreach, sending people out.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to sit there and we're going to say, we're going to grow it. Well, maybe that's why your church doesn't grow. Or maybe that's why you catch them with non-Jesus and then no one's really saved. And you just got a social club.
That's why we should be concerned about growth, right? From the standpoint of, if you're making it grow, then you've got to keep it.
Well, if you're making it grow, then God says, hands off, you're on your own.
See, and
100%.
that's exactly right. So last week I asked you the question, like, why did God do this? Is it possible that one of the reasons that God did this was to reveal what the difference between his way of thinking and their way of thinking?
Yeah, he's still focused on all this crap. But that's our human nature. We're going to be focused on it.
So
That's what we do. We don't punt to God ever.
So let me make your super personal conviction, and then you can close it, and we can be done, right?
All right.
There are promises that I'm waiting for. That I'm doing this exact thing. I am so concerned about how to get it that I am not preparing myself for how to inhabit it. Right? Where God is like, take some time right now. Work on you. Work on getting to inhabit the promises that I'm going to give you. Work on being the best. So when it happens, suddenly, boom, you're ready to go. Right? Mm-hmm. But instead, we just fight that all the time. And we're constantly caught up, partly because the enemy puts us there. Like he wants us there. Right? We're constantly trying to do the God stuff. It goes right back to the enemy trying to make me take God's place. Right? Take the things of God. And God's like, no, I'm going to give you your promised land. I'm going to give it to you. It's a surefire bet. You can go to the bank on it. But I can't give it to you until you're ready in some way, shape, or form to inhabit it. Until you believe in the process of getting it. Right? Because again, all God's asking these people to do is trust him. He's going to go before them and fight the battle.
That's what I think. Sometimes it's even a bad thing that he tells you. Because then it's like, it should relieve you. It should relieve you if God says, I'm going to give you this thing. It should completely take it off of your mind of like, am I going to get it? It's going to happen. You know, can I control this? It should be like, oh, sweet. I can't control it. I'm definitely getting it. Awesome. Now that should free you up to focus on the other things. You should, but instead it makes us so zeroed in because the enemy's like, well, somehow God's promises are conditional.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't know where that came from, but we all act that way. Oh, you'll get the promise that I'm already promising you, that I'm telling you is going to happen if you do this. Or, well, if you don't do that, then you're not going to. Or, like, it's just craziness. So then you spend the entire time actually delaying the promise.
Mm-hmm.
Delaying, not deleting. Mm-hmm. Delaying. Just like Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny that we spend a whole bunch of time worrying about losing a promise that we haven't fully gotten yet?
It's a promise. And we just don't trust God.
No, we don't. Right? And again, we trust him like we trust humans, which is humans break their promises all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And God doesn't break his promises. God says, no, I'm not going to break my promise, right? But the key to that is, I need you to be ready. It's like King David. Did God break the promise to him that he was the next anointed king? No. He just gave him 13 years of getting ready. But do you think that David thought throughout that process that God broke the promise? Probably once, twice, or 3 times.
Probably. Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of things that God promises us out here. Right? And the reason for that is so that we're striving, that our eyes are there so we don't miss it. Because the truth is, there's a bunch of promises that God has promised me that don't make a lot of sense. And I would just push them off to the side and be like, yep, nope, never. I wouldn't even think about it. Right? And I wouldn't be prepping for it. I wouldn't be getting ready for it. I wouldn't be doing the things that I needed to because I've already decided, yep, that's not possible. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
We need to trust God.
We do. Ooh.
That's it. Saplings, trust God, and I don't know. It's a promise. It's a promise.
Mm-hmm.
Make people pinky swear to us. It's stupid. Like, God says something, we're like, oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Like, could you just come down from heaven and pinky swear me? And then I'll believe you?
See, now you're meddling and getting really conviction.
Oh, my gosh.
Pinky promises from God. There we go.
I mean, what does the guy have to do?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, saplings. Trust God. Don't be stupid. Have a great week.